Some people in this world are on the front lines of the struggle between good and evil, and some, like us, bear witness. I'm Therese Apel.
And I'm Nicole Crowell. You may have heard us as we worked on stories and series about law enforcement and crime. And it's safe to say we've seen some of the best and worst of human nature.
We decided there's no greater honor than bringing you the stories of the men and women who seek out the monsters, who speak for the victims, and who put the pieces together on some of the biggest Mississippi crime stories of our time. Welcome to Investigation Homicide. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Investigation Homicide. I'm Therese Apel, and today Amanda and I are sharing the chair.
We are.
Yeah.
We're getting close.
That's right. This is how we bond. So tonight we're excited because we are going to talk about a story that didn't happen that long ago. And it was one that kind of had everybody kind of frozen in place for a little bit. We are happy to welcome back to our podcast the guys from Scott County. We've got Sheriff Mike Lee and Chief Deputy Brad Ellis here with us today. Sheriff, thank y'all for being here.
Oh, thank you for having us. It's an honor to be back.
Well, we always have good conversations here because you guys do great work over there.
Well,
and
again, you make it always easy, so it's not hard to do.
Well, thank you again. So thank you both. So today we're going to talk about Sammy Patrick, and that was a name that for at least a week back 2 years ago now.
2 years ago,
Yeah.
Actually, it occurred on December the 30th of 2023.
Mm-hmm.
So not that long ago.
That's right. And so that happened, and it was several days that nobody knew exactly where he was, but we were watching him on camera.
That's right. That's right. Kind of going into the of where we went. Of course, right now we're in the middle of of indictments and trial, and so I spoke with the victim, Miss Edie. I spoke with her daughter yesterday and let her know that we weren't going to speak about the crime,
right?
Especially anything said pre-trial would be too fast. Right now we're just we're in the place of making sure that he gets indictments.
Absolutely.
And for his cases, and that the trial begins. So we've still got a long way to go.
Sure. But at this point, we can talk about some of what we knew at the time. So let's start with this day. It's December 30th, and you guys get the call that something had happened over there at Miss Edie's house. Tell me what you know at this point.
That day, we got a call that there had been a female that had been found that appeared that she had been on fire, that they're not sure what happened. She was found by family members, and the address. And, of course, when they told me the address, I knew that it was and she was commonly referred to by friends and family and people in the community as Miss Dee Eady, and just a great lady. I had known her and her family and her daughter for a very long time. Changed schools in the 5th grade, and her daughter happened to be one of the ones that were riding to school with us. So I had a long connection with the family.
Sure. Now tell us about the community that we're talking about here. It's not that big. Everyone knows each other. Talk about kind of how close-knit it is.
It's very close-knit. It's the Hillsborough community, and it's not only a close-knit community, but the family is a very close-knit, large family in Scott County, and well thought of. And, of course, family members were the ones that had actually found her, unfortunately.
Sure. Now tell us about Miss Dee as a person.
What was she like? She was one of the sweetest ladies you could ever meet. She was soft-spoken. All her sisters that live in Scott County, or her sisters, are people that I know personally, and just all are the exact same. They are very good Christian, very soft-spoken. They're the kind that always smiled. They spoke to you, looked you in the eye, just down-to-earth good people.
Mm-hmm. Now, how did she come across Sammy Patrick? Had they met before this day?
No, there's no evidence at all of that the two knew each other. It looked like that her house where it sat was off of Old Jackson Road. It was kind of an area that was right off the road, but sat back enough that it could be chosen as a place for someone to burglarize if there's ever a good place.
Sure.
You hate to say that, but
Yeah.
that's what it was, and it looks like that's probably why the house was chosen by Sammy. It just you, that's one of the things that we just don't know because Samuel never said much about what occurred. He just let us, went to that house. He didn't let us know anything. He went to that house, or didn't let us know why. But he, pretty much, we don't know what led him there.
What did
That
you
makes
guys know
sense.
about him leading up to this? Like, I mean, obviously, when you got a town that small, a community that close knit, you kind of know who everybody is. You got your frequent flyers. Was he one of those?
He really came to with us. We probably got to know him in about the same year, and he was known to us through stealing side by sides. Not someone that had this type of criminal history.
There was no indicator that this is a guy you've got to watch like that.
No, no. His criminal history was mainly in Leake, Newton, and Atala County. Not really any type of, and the crimes there were theft of motor vehicle, possession of stolen property, things like that. Not violent crimes.
Sure. So, okay, you've gotten this call. Did you personally go to the scene?
I did.
Okay. And Brad, you went to the scene as well?
I didn't make it to the scene right then. It was a little later.
Okay. So, what happens when you get there?
Well, you pretty much have to put any of the shock value that happens. It's hard to explain because I was and am close knit with the family, and you start treating this. You have to put this to the side, and work takes over to where you wind up putting all that to the side and say, okay, we have a victim. Let's find out if we can find out who the suspect is. Let's find out who this is. And it didn't take us long, unfortunately, to find out who it was. We had an investigator that there was a camera that had the family members had, because Miss D was a widow, they made sure to keep a camera system on her house. And one of the investigators, Michael McCarty, who saw the camera quickly or had seen the footage, wound up knowing that was him.
Okay. Well, and was there a situation where the family member knew there was a problem because he was able to see the camera system and saw that it had been moved?
Yes. He, Miss D was on the phone with one of her nieces, and pretty much she said the dog is barking and wants out, and so that I've got to go. And from there, they watched to just make sure everything's okay, and that's when they noticed that the camera had been tilted or zoomed out of the way.
So, okay, you guys figure out that it's him. And this is kind of where, obviously, as a member of the media, we get this information and we know that there's been a homicide and we know that they're investigating, but things start to unravel from here for us. This is where you've got to move forward and say, all right, do we go ahead and give a description, that kind of thing. Talk about that process with us. How did y'all do that?
We were talking about this earlier, that once we knew who the suspect was, we were able to put that out quickly, which helped. But what hurt us the most was that, anytime that you have something like this, you can't just put out all the information you know. Unfortunately, with social media nowadays, People want what's going on minute by minute, and we just can't do that because suspects have that availability to look at the um, information that we're giving out. So we had to be selective, which in turn means, we spent days on a manhunt for Samuel, and we were pretty much criticized by some that, you hadn't found him yet. I think some thought, well, you've got your suspect, why ain't he in jail? And that's unfortunately not the way things work. It's not like TV.
Sure. Well, and Amanda, you have worked 2 homicides in the last, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That kind of criticism comes from the public a lot. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that people just don't know what goes on behind the scenes. Like y'all said, although someone has been identified, that doesn't mean that we know where they are. They have people who are helping them to not be caught. There's a million different possibilities. Fleeing the area, like the metro area, or in y'all's case, the county, or they're fleeing the state. There's so many different things, and we only have so many resources that we can tap into that provides us with location information. So we're kind of just hoping for the best and trying to use all of our resources.
So as that search begins, you guys know that you're looking for Sammy. What steps can you tell us about that you take from there?
From there, what we did was we pretty much got together as a department because we did have some ability to track some of the area where he was living, and kind of went through that part such as parents' house, grandparents' house. Samuel was a little bit different and living in the woods. The chief deputy, we spent days and hours, days looking for him. And again, we can't give out information because every time we go somewhere to look, we hear another story of he may be here, maybe here.
Yeah.
And we don't, we know that he is running. We know that he knows, or we feel like he knew that we were after him, and we just were very limited of what we could say.
Sure. Now, when you say he was living in the woods, was he actually like living in a structure in the woods, or was he like sleeping in the grass, or what was his deal?
He had like a makeshift tent out in the woods, a whole little, almost like his own little area there.
Yeah.
It was kind of behind those residents. We were getting a lot of information multiple times, like Sheriff and I was talking on the way over. You're always chasing ghosts when you're chasing when you're on a manhunt. Somebody's going to call and say, "Hey, I just seen him over here," or "Hey, I just seen him over here." There's an abandoned house right there beside a residence we known him to live at. That I don't know how many times we searched that abandoned house because we would get a phone call. I just seen him go in this house, and we'd go over there and we would turn the same old mattresses over and the same old boards. And like I said, from the backside of that house, it was just a definitive trail, and you could follow it in the woods probably 75 yards, and he had his own little camp set up out there. And of course, there was still some stuff there. You could tell he hadn't been there in a few days, but we get the phone call, and we still go check it out.
You have to follow up on every lead.
Yeah,
and it can be
absolutely.
very frustrating, and it can
Absolutely.
be take away from the investigation. But you never know when that one tip is going to be what actually helps.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, and when you have a case like that where somebody's living in the woods, you don't necessarily have a whole house to search or whatever. Does that present any challenges that maybe we wouldn't think about?
Absolutely it does. Especially, in our area, there are a lot of pine thickets, and it's just, you can't see 20 yards into the woods. There's sometimes not even that far.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, even though, we're walking shoulder to shoulder through a thicket, trying to turn over every leaf, he could be just that much further ahead of us. And, when you're on a manhunt, it's like, especially in an area like this, like trying to find a needle in a haystack.
Do you ever feel like when you are doing a manhunt or something along those lines, do you ever feel like we are right here? We know he's right here. That means he's somewhere. Like, what kind of stress is involved in something like that?
A lot.
Yeah,
A lot.
I think all of us would agree. It's high stress, especially in a situation where you know that the person committed a violent crime, and that now you're out at night, and we're a super rural area, so we're not in well lit areas while we're searching. But we knew that we had a suspect that we needed to find before this happened again, and so going into these areas and going out at night, most of the time the searching was done at night. We would get a lead that somebody saw something in an area, and we would quickly rush to make sure that we check that lead.
Now let's talk about Scott County for a second, because obviously you guys have been here twice now, but it's to talk about one of the oldest homicides in Mississippi, at the time, the Chandra May case. And we finally, for those of you that are new to the podcast, if you know who Chandra May was, it was a case that was almost 40 years old, and Scott County finally was able to close it. Was it May of this? What month was that?
It was, I believe, May
Yes, yeah,
of
it
this
was
year
May.
that
That's
we
what I was
were able to.
thinking.
And, and I guess this will be, you kind of hear it first, that we have recently, and again, we're prior to going to the grand jury with this, but there is DNA that absolutely links the suspect to the crime.
Good. Okay.
So from one case to another, that's
Yeah.
that's the big part. But
That's excellent.
So you get it first here. But
Thank you.
the rest
So
of that
we
will be
just broke
explained
that
to the
news
grand.
for you if you're watching.
Yes, rest of that will go to the grand jury, and later on, working with the DA's office, we can explain what that actually is.
Okay, good deal. Well, and I bring that up because other than that, I mean, I know that I have worked stories and cases in Scott County, but I feel like there are car accidents and drownings and things like that. You guys don't get a lot of homicide.
No, we do not, and I don't want to scare anybody off. Again,
Yeah.
we are a rural county, and we're not accustomed to homicides in Scott County. It just so happened that we had these two, with Samuel being one of the latest, and again the manhunt and all that went into that was a big part of it.
Right. Well, and let me draw a scene for you, because of course it's the day before New Year's Eve that this happens. And then as the media, of course, it's our job to hound these guys and say, "What's new? Have you got anything else? So what's happened lately?" And you guys start putting out photos that are coming from, different surveillance cameras, things like that, and kind of following him around. Tell us some of the places that those photos came from.
Well, unfortunately, for Woodville, Mississippi, he's about, I believe, on the 5th is when he popped up, and I could be wrong, a little off, but somewhere in there that, no, I'm sorry. He went to Woodville on the 1st, but that was slow coming back to us, that he was a suspect of an armed robbery in Woodville, where he walked into a Subway and armed robbed a clerk. And not to make light of it, but a shout out to the clerk, but he had stolen a sandwich and money, and he asked for her keys, and she said, "I've already given you a sandwich."
Good for her.
Right. That you're not taking anything else.
Right.
But once we linked that, we kind of had an area of where he was going, and we knew the car or the vehicle that he was definitely driving. So we knew he was out of our area and in a direction we knew he was taking.
Well, and Woodville is, I'm sorry, I was just thinking Wilkinson County, and that's not right. Where is Woodville?
I'm not sure exactly what county, but it's about 3 hours away from Forest.
It's south, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
because I was remembering that when I saw that, I thought, oh, he's headed to Louisiana.
Right.
Yep. That was us too. And again, Michael McCarty, the lead investigator on this case, was able to track him back through Woodville, and kind of would lose in the rural areas from tag readers that we were using, and it just so happened. Now this was on January the 5th that Investigator McCarty just happened to walk into dispatch early in the morning, and they tell him that the vehicle he had been tracking had been found in New Orleans, Louisiana, in Jefferson Parish. So he got on the phone with Jefferson Parish and made sure that, one, they held that car because that's going to be evidence, and that from there, did they have a missing vehicle from anywhere is there a stolen vehicle from anywhere in that area? And there was a small suburb of New Orleans where a vehicle, a work truck, had been reported stolen. And the Jefferson Parish homicide detective that was able to help us find that, we got that information and had a tag. Once we had that tag, things started rolling fast.
Because he thought at that point that he was incognito.
Yes. Well, and let me back up. Not only did we get that information from Jefferson Parish, but we also were able to get there was video of who broke into the shop, and quickly we all said that's him. I mean, there was no doubt that it was our suspect. And so once that was put in, we realized that the truck had traveled back into Mississippi and was in the Jackson area.
Now, what does that feel like when you're sure that your guy is headed out of state and you know that's going to present some challenges, but at least your folks are safe? And then you find out, like, no, he's coming back.
Yeah, that was hard to deal with, I guess you say, because you almost feel helpless. I mean, you're trying to make as many phone calls as you can, make as many connections as you can with people in that area. I was making phone calls. Sheriff was making phone calls. Just trying to get as far ahead as we could. But at some point you're just sitting there and you just feel helpless. I mean, because he is somewhere that you're 99% sure that's where he's at, but you just can't quite reach him.
Yeah. Well, and I know that just from a media standpoint, we're getting these photos of him, and you do it every time. You can't help it. It's what I think everybody does, but you look at it and you're like, wow, he looks really evil. Well, if you had sent me that and said this guy went and bought a Subway sandwich today, I would have been like, oh, guy likes Subway, but I mean,
Right.
I'm not. It could be that he does look really evil, but I always give myself that leeway that probably just I know what I think he did. So, but when we hear that he may be in the Jackson area, it was kind of all of a sudden we're back to square one where it's like, where is he? What's he doing? Who's next?
Mm.
How do you handle a case like that, Amanda, when you know that he's out there somewhere, but you're not sure where?
Again, you have to reach out to all your resources and pray that there is someone who will care almost as much as you do about the case that you're working. Other agencies are busy. They have their own cases, especially in the Jackson area. They have murder is nothing new to them. So to have someone in their city that could be a suspect, they really just don't have enough people to go out there and facilitate locating him, on top of the fact that, he's got a vehicle, but that if he parks it and then walks away from it, now you're really back to square one.
Exactly.
So how does that work when it is a case where he's going to Jackson, the most populated area in the state at this point, and also somewhere it's very easy to disappear? I know you guys are making phone calls. At this point, the media is putting stuff out, that kind of thing. Where are y'all physically during this?
Physically, we were at the sheriff's office, and things started to move very quickly. We were glad that he was back in a large city that tag readers could pick him up. And matter of fact, we had picked up that he had been around the night before on the 4th around UMC. Tag reader cameras picked him up there, and then the next one that hit was just a recent in that morning time around Byram. And luckily, that people were in place and ready to go, and highway patrolman was on his way in and just happened to be behind the truck.
Amazing.
Just one thing after another. So it's great how it ended, how we got there. You know, I was looking at a bunch of men and women who had spent days tired, hungry, have not been home, searching. And so when you hear that there's someone behind him and they are preparing to catch him, you're just overwhelmed with joy.
Well, and I think to me, it was one of those, I actually, just for the sake of the podcast, I was doing something that day that I was actually over in that direction also. And I got a call from somebody in a completely unrelated agency that said, "Hey, you know who Sammy Patrick is?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I mean, I thought it was going to be like, "Oh, yeah, they're still looking for him, you know." And he said, "Well, they got him in Byram." And I said, "They what?" He said, "They got him in Byram." I was like, "I can be there in 10 minutes." So, sorry, Highway Patrol, but I flew to the QT in Byram. It's a gas station for those of y'all that don't know, the Quick Time. And pull in there are probably 35 cops in that parking lot.
Yep.
And at that point, I can see him sitting up against a wheel of one of the trucks. And I just remember like a couple of y'all looked over and saw me, and I heard somebody say, "There's Therese," and a bunch of people moved in front of him. So I couldn't get a picture of him very well. I did get one.
You
But
did.
I did get one.
And let me tell you, that was the first time we had seen him after this.
Yeah.
You know, to me, that picture was great because we knew that when you sent that picture and we all got it, everyone was extremely
It was
joyed
there.
because that side is now over with. And again, just all the emotions that everybody had gone through with the days of things like this going on. You know, I'm not the only person that knew this family well. All of us kind of knew. It's a
Right.
large family, so we all knew this family, and we wanted an end. And you know, we were getting good praise for what we were doing, but we were also, it was almost like it was our fault.
Well, and you're exhausted too.
Yeah,
by this point.
absolutely, absolutely. We have, you know, our detractors out there, people that don't like to you know, praise the sheriff's department for whatever reason. And it was almost like, well, y'all can't catch him. You can't do anything. So we went from sometimes being down to sometimes being up to sometimes being. So it was a tough for the whole department. So then, as sheriff, you kind of have to look at these people, your folks, your coworkers. They're not employees; they're coworkers. We're all working together, and you know, you can kind of, we can breathe. Now let's find out why.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, so talk about the righteous anger that comes with, you know, this is your little tiny community. This is your area where you guys are the protectors, and some jerk, I mean, for lack of the words that I want to use, decides that today's the day that he's going to go and he's going to take a life of somebody that did not deserve it. And then you guys are kind of put on your heels because now you have this whole manhunt for days and days. Like you've said, there are people that are fussing, but I mean, I know you guys, and I know most of the investigators that I know. Your heart is working on a whole nother level than it usually does because that's your people that are hurt.
Right, right. And the good thing is, when I say that, I don't want to sound bitter. That we're talking about a few, and social
yeah.
media
And they're
can
always
just
louder.
eat you up. Yeah, just eat you up, and people will comment. And you know, it was pretty much telling everybody, look, stay off of social media. Don't worry about that. Let's worry about the target of catching this person. But you know, I would say 99% of our county is on our side. That, you know, these are people that are rooting for us to get him, and they want to see, you know, him get caught and justice be served to him.
And for you guys though, it's personal.
Yes, it's personal to the point of that we have got a specific duty to do, and that we want Samuel Patrick to remember the name of Miss Edie and his victim, and that was important and remains important as the trial starts to hear.
So now let's take it back to the gas station, because as soon as you heard that trooper was behind him, I bet y'all are hauling butt. Are
Oh, yeah.
y'all on the way?
Yeah.
Absolutely. We're one, you can't wait to get over there. Two, everyone wants to go, and you got to say, wait, we're sending select few. We've got to do this. We've got to do that. There are a lot of things that we need to do at the office. We still have, there are other important crimes and things that occur that we need to take care of. So we have to send a select few to go and make sure that we bring him back and go from there. But believe me, everyone wanted to load up and go.
Mm-hmm.
That was the big thing. Folks were ready to load up and go. And we were very well appreciative of the men who were able to take him down, because when the highway patrolman got behind him, he waited till he got back up, being that this was a known violent offender of a capital offense, and which was great. So, I would be remiss if I don't say thank you to all those men and women that helped do that, and thank you to you sending that picture that, like, he's in cuffs and he's sitting next to a wheel. So, I believe the wheels of the vehicle that he had stolen.
That's right.
So,
That's right. So now you get there. What's the first thing y'all say to him? I mean, do you remember having any interaction with him at that point?
it's when when the investigators first get to him, I think there's pretty much you're under arrest. I think that's kind of what, and I may be wrong, but you kind of look at somebody and it's not like you see in the movies. You're like, you're under arrest.
There's
Samuel
no
Patrick,
like, we got you now or anything like that.
there's no dramatic moment. I think it's more of, all right, now we've got you. Now it's time to start the real work. Catching the person for the enjoyment of making sure that we get them. Then you realize, hey, you're now under arrest, and those are powerful words. You're telling somebody you're under arrest and that you are coming with us, and that was basically beside his Miranda warning being read to him. That was pretty much the gist of it until we got him back to the sheriff's office.
And at that point, I mean, you're aware, but he's even more aware that he's coming in for probably at this point, if everything goes like it sounds like it will in court, the rest of his life.
Yes. Unfortunately, and again, staying away from exactly what was done during the crime. Unfortunately, all of this is on video and audio, and it is terrible to watch. It's terrible to hear. The things that he said, she said. I've seen it once, and that was enough for me. I don't want to see it again.
Which makes it even more important when you've got him in cuffs.
Yes.
And you had seen it at that point, obviously.
Yes. Like I said, Investigator McCarty had been able to identify him from that video, and and that brings up another big point, was that the family members who helped do this, they had to see some of that.
Sure.
And hear that until they said, no, here you go. But, again, it's been extremely hard on them. So for going from down to up and excited that we got him and trying to find out, it's been really hard on the whole family.
Absolutely.
Really hard. I know them and have spoken to them many times, and, every time you want to let them know, look, we're going to make sure we're looking out for you. You're the ones that we have to make sure this is right. In the end, you're the one that has to receive justice now. Miss Eady is not with us, and she is the victim, but you're the living victim, and this is who we've got to make sure we satisfy.
Absolutely. Let me throw in here that if you are watching live and you want to comment a question, we've got a few more minutes to do that if you want to. Amanda, what are your thoughts at this point?
Well, the fact that you say that you have the crime on video, I was recently involved in a trial and sentencing of something completely not related to murder, but that we also had video of. And it blows my mind when people are like, I am taking it to trial.
Right.
Like,
Right.
for what?
Yeah.
And luckily, this case, there was an open plea, and the victims didn't have to testify. They didn't have to go through that. But I will never understand the mindset of, like, they have you dead to rights, but I am taking it to trial.
Yeah.
That's right.
Like,
That's right.
a jury is going to be far more judgmental than a detective and the police department that can just go based off of the evidence. So
That's right.
that's crazy.
That's right. And you know, again, you can show not only the suspect, but you know, you can show family members, and they tell you, well, that's not him. It's unequivocally not him or her. It's them. So you know, sometimes you think some of that's spurred it on. Hey, you need to go to trial. They did this wrong, and you've got a chance, and it's right there. It's in color. So.
And that's also why it's so important to do everything like by the book, and don't make any mistakes to the best of your ability, because you don't want something to go to trial and a technicality be the reason that the case gets
absolutely.
thrown
Amen.
out. That's
Absolutely.
my worst nightmare. So
Yeah, it's
I
like
agree.
we've always said, you know, it doesn't matter how large or how small the case, work every case like it's going to trial. I mean, work it like it's going to trial next week.
So, okay, we now have him in custody. You guys take him back. You're dealing with all that stuff. What at this point the real work is happening? You know, you're having to interview him. You're having to put the case together. I'm certain he lawyered up. He probably didn't. I mean, at this point, you might not could even talk about it if he talked to you. But
Well, there were interviews that were conducted, and we had 4 investigators. We mentioned investigator McCarty, but all 4 of our investigators, between photographing and taking evidence over to the crime lab, and it was a complete team effort, and I'm proud of each and every one of them that have their name on that case.
so where do we stand now? What is the next step at this point? I realize we're kind of in the waiting phase, but
I believe that we are awaiting that he is indicted right now in Scott County for the stealing of the motor vehicle, which occurred prior to Miss Edie, her death. And he is on the docket for next month to be indicted for the capital murder.
sure. So at this point, you're just waiting for that grand jury to see how this goes forward,
Yes.
assuming that you know.
Yeah, and when that happens, you know, for 6 months we've got to be mum about it. So it
Right.
just, you know, it's a good chance to kind of explain what we know before we're sworn in silence for 6 months.
Absolutely. Well, and Chief Deputy Ellis, when you think about this case, where does it stack up compared to other cases that you've worked on?
It's right towards the top. It really is. You know, I didn't have as much investigative part of it as like McCarty and all them did. I was more out there, boots on the ground, looking for him.
Mhm.
You know, kicking doors, searching woods, stuff like that. But I mean, that is a case right there, and a lot because I know the family myself. I was talking to them a lot during that whole deal, and you know, it'll always, you know, be right there at the top of the list of a case I'll always remember.
Absolutely.
You know, these are always horrific, but when you have it on video, it takes it to another
Sure.
level.
Well, I mean, up until the time you have a crime on video, the pictures that you have of it, you've made in your head.
Mhm.
And I don't think those are ever as bad as actually having to watch it. So you
That's
guys are carrying something that the rest of us, you know, we tell the story and it's like we're just making up pictures in our head, but you guys have seen things that we, thank God, we'll never have to. And for that, we're grateful that y'all stand in the gap like that.
I appreciate that.
So, okay. I guess at this point, that's where we are. We're waiting. We'll bring you guys back when more happens.
Absolutely. We
Right.
you were the first to hear the news on the DNA. That was here first. You've been very good about following this case, and so we're glad, even though you couldn't go with us on the arrest that day.
We're talking about
so-
Chandra May now. Yeah,
Yeah.
they went to do the arrest, and I think I was teaching my class in Columbus that day.
Right.
Yes.
So I
yes.
got the message that they were going, and I was like, "Oh, are you kidding? Like,
Right.
can you hold off one day?"
Right.
No,
But
of course not.
again, we hope to give that family also closure, and we're glad to announce that. So,
That's good news.
you hear it here first.
Good deal. So we'll have that on Dark Horse Press ASAP. All right, Amanda, closing thoughts?
No closing thoughts other than I understand how exhausting a murder investigation is,
Oh, absolutely.
having had 2 investigations in the last 7 or 10 days. Bless you. I get it.
Yeah, same to you.
I
Two,
do.
one's bad enough. Two, people
Yeah.
just don't understand, and it's good to have a that we can talk like this. It does help.
Mm-hmm.
It does help to speak, even when microphones are not in front of you. You have a good group of folks around you. You feel good about speaking, and that's what helps out part of it. First is faith. That's number one. But secondly, family, and then third, having a good surroundings. And
Well, and that thought did occur to me, and I forgot to ask it, but knowing that both of you guys are men of faith, and you had this situation going on, and I mean, it's kind of like there's a monster out there potentially that could be doing whatever. That's got to be a real gut check, but it's also got to be a time that you're just sitting in front of God, like,
Yeah.
all right, come on, please help.
Oh, absolutely.
you do,
Oh,
and you realize that it's in His hands. I've said it before. I'm closer to the end of my career than I am the beginning of my career. I
Very
get
jealous
that.
of that.
I get that. But with that being said, I'm not about to retire anytime soon. So I've had the I guess I won't say privilege, but the experience of seeing these and see the folks like Amanda and my chief deputy work these cases, and that just know that we're people too, and that we can't always tell you. It doesn't mean we're trying to hide stuff from you when it comes to the public, and that we've got to see these cases through.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing. We want justice, and that's what we're in this job for.
Well, Amanda and I were talking about that earlier before you guys got here, that a lot of people, having not heard something on a case from the police, they'll say, well, they're just not doing anything, or they're just not telling me. And I want to say this as the one in the room that's not police, besides Daniel, of course. There's a reason for that, because as they work a case, they don't know, if they don't know anything about who the suspect is connected to, or even who the suspect is. It doesn't matter if you're the wife, if you're the mama, if you're the twin brother of the victim, they don't know who you're talking to. So it's not about not telling you because they're hiding it. It's because at this point they can't risk what they're investigating getting to the wrong person in so many cases. That's not every case, but that is one good example of why they have to keep it quiet. Another one, of course, going to trial, things like that. There are always reasons. And it's why when some of y'all call me and you want me to take your case and investigate it, I will tell you, I know they're working. In most cases, they are working. There are a couple agencies that I worry about sometimes, but
Yeah. I mean, that's to that point. I mean, just kind of like the sheriff touched on a little bit ago. I mean, with him, we couldn't release what we were doing because we didn't want to risk him dropping that truck.
Mhm.
That's how we were keeping up with him.
Right.
And we couldn't risk that. So we couldn't put it out there that we're tracking him by tags. We can't put that out there at that time.
Right.
We don't want him to drop that vehicle. We need him to stay in that vehicle.
Yeah, he could have parked it at North Park Mall and wandered off, and then we're back at square one again.
Right.
Well, we appreciate you guys joining us, and Sheriff, Chief Deputy, thank y'all for being here.
Oh, as always,
again,
thank you.
As
Yeah,
always.
thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we appreciate y'all spending your time with us. Amanda, Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for being here tonight.
Absolutely, that's
Thank you.
right.
So, guys, obviously you can see we have merch. This is what Nicole's always talking about when she pitches it at the end of the podcast. You can find that on our link tree if you're interested. We also are on all the podcast platforms. We're on all the social medias, Investigation Homicide. You can look it up. This is episode 43. We've been doing this for over a year now, which blows my mind. And we're just grateful that you guys join us. And we hope that you will come back next week. We have David Ruth, the Rankin County coroner, coming to tell us a scary story for Halloween. So join us then. Thank you for being here tonight.